Hi everybody, this is Bill from turboDial with an extended video showing how to use turboDial Mobile. So why is there a turboDial Mobile? If you use turboDial, you know that you need to automatically document your sales calls in Infusionsoft. You need to consistently display your business phone identity, your phone numbers, on your client conversations, and you need to quickly follow up when you have new leads. Well, and you also need to do all of these things even while you're away from your desk and your computer. And if you travel around and to visit clients or for other reasons, a turboDial mobile app is a good solution. So that's why there's a turboDial mobile. It's for mobile devices, which means Apple iOS and Android-based devices like your smartphones and your tablets. turboDial mobile operates independently from Infusionsoft, unlike the PC Mac version, which you launch from Infusionsoft and use it side by side with Infusionsoft. turboDial mobile has the expected features. You can choose your caller ID and your calling device. You can search and select any Infusionsoft contact. You can make calls to that contact, send text messages. You can save call outcomes and notes and apply tags, just as you can in the PC Mac version of turboDial. And as a bonus, turboDial mobile also works with PCs and Macs. And unlike the PC Mac version of turboDial, which only works with Chrome and Firefox, turboDial mobile works with Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and Opera. So it gives you more flexibility. Less features on turboDial mobile if you're using it on a PC and Mac, but more browser support. So with that flexibility, you can use any connected device to manage your calls, and you can use any phone to make your calls. Notice the difference. You're using a device to manage your outbound calls by selecting contacts, searching, applying tags, leaving call outcomes. And then you're using a phone to make your calls that you've initiated from turboDial mobile. This is going to be your mobile phone, your office phone, home phone. Could be a payphone at the airport. You can use any phone with turboDial mobile to make your calls. And you might actually be using the same phone. A smartphone running turboDial mobile can also be used to make your calls. So you have full flexibility in how you use turboDial mobile. So the benefits of turboDial are now available in a mobile version. You can maintain your business identity to the customer so that any phone now masquerades as your business line. You can track your calls and text messages automatically in Infusionsoft. It puts notes on the contact record. You can designate the call outcomes. You can see your dashboard reports reflecting your mobile calls. And you can trigger automated follow-up after a call using call outcome automation and tags. So let's go through several demonstrations on using turboDial mobile. We'll talk about how to authorize users to have access to turboDial mobile. We'll show you how to launch turboDial mobile. We'll go through demonstrations on logging in and using the different screens in turboDial mobile. And we'll do a comparison between the mobile and the PC Mac version. And lastly, we'll end up with some useful tips on using turboDial mobile. So authorizing users. Before a user in your turboDial account can use the mobile version of turboDial, you will need to authorize them. And you do that by logging in to the turboDial account at the URL shown here and use the Add Remove Mobile Users form that you can find in your account. As you know, anytime you add or remove users in your account, your monthly subscription fee is adjusted. So as the account owner, you should consider for each user in your account if that user might be best suited for the PC or Mac version of turboDial or the mobile version of turboDial, or in some cases they may need access to both versions of turboDial. So let's talk about how you launch turboDial. I'm overlaying my iPhone screen right onto the presentation here so you can see what I do with my iPhone. I'm going to launch Safari browser. Cancel that. And I'm going to enter that URL just as you see it there. Okay, I've entered the URL. I'm going to press go. Okay, here I am at the login screen for turboDial mobile. That's how you launch turboDial mobile. Now, notice that this is operating turboDial mobile inside of the Safari browser. If I want to make better use of the screen, I should save turboDial to the home screen and use this Add to the Home Screen feature right there. And in so doing, I'll get a different version of turboDial that I can launch. As you can see it right down here, I can launch it right from there. And in this version of turboDial, I have better use of the screen. I don't have the address bar at the top, and I don't have the Safari tools at the bottom. So the screen flow of turboDial is to log in, configure, search, and call. Let's just quickly step through those, and then we'll come back and go into more detail on each of them. Here's the login screen. If I enter my app name, my email, and password, I can log in. The first screen that I arrive at is my configure screen. I can set my caller ID, calling device, an SMS from ID. I can go to the search screen. I can type in the name of a contact, press go. A contact is selected. I can go to the call screen, and from here I can make calls, send text messages, etc. I'm going to go back to login, and we'll talk through this one by one. So, as I said before, on the login screen, you must be pre-authorized by your TurboDial account owner before you can log into TurboDial. You're going to enter your Infusionsoft app name right here in this field. I've already entered mine. In fact, TurboDial remembered it and entered it for me. If I have more than one Infusionsoft app, I can change that. Then my email and password must be valid Infusionsoft IDs. If I cannot log into Infusionsoft on a computer using that email and password, then I will not be able to log in here. Normally, TurboDial will be able to remember the email and password that I've entered here, and they'll have pre-filled it. And in some cases, if I've recently logged into TurboDial, when I come back here, it will recognize that and just auto-log me in and move right on to the configure or to the search screen. Let's go to the next screen by logging in. Okay, on the configure screen, these choices are similar to what I find on a PC or Mac version of TurboDial. I've got my caller ID, my calling device, and the phone number I use for sending SMS messages. The caller ID is the number you will display to people when you call them. And I can choose from the ones that have been pre-configured in my TurboDial account. My calling device is the number I'm going to actually use to make my phone call. This is the phone that's going to be called first when I start a call. And once I answer that phone, then the person I'm calling will be connected. In this case, I've chosen 8502. And then, as you know, the SMS from ID is the phone number that will be displayed on the text messages that I sent. If I want to use, for example, the payphone at an airport as my calling device, then it will not have already been configured into TurboDial. In that case, I just go down here to enter number, and I can type it in right there and use whatever number I want. And now I can use that number as my calling device. Let's go back and change to the, there we go. So that's how the configure screen works. While we're on the configure screen, let's compare it to the PC Mac version of TurboDial to see how they compare. Okay, here we are side by side. This is the PC Mac version of TurboDial, and on the right is the mobile version of TurboDial. Notice that for caller ID, I've got the very same numbers to choose from. Likewise, calling device. Although on calling device, I can choose this PC, which is going to allow me to make phone calls using a headset from my computer. I do not have this PC as one of my choices here because there is no voice over IP capabilities with TurboDial Mobile. However, on TurboDial Mobile, I do have enter number as a choice that I can use for making phone calls from. Whereas on the PC Mac version of TurboDial, I do not have enter number as a choice. Numbers I use for calling devices on the PC Mac version must be pre-configured using the plus button here. Inbound and SMS on the PC Mac is the same as the SMS from ID on TurboDial Mobile. So with the flexibility you have there, you can use any connected device to manage your outbound calls, and you can use any phone to make your calls. Notice the distinction. You're managing your calls on a smartphone or a tablet or a PC or a Mac using TurboDial Mobile, and then you're making your calls using a phone. It could be a mobile phone, a home phone, hotel room phone, etc. And it might actually, if it's a smartphone, it might actually be the same device that you're managing and making your calls from. Okay, you do have that flexibility. Okay, on the search screen, again, it's very similar functionality as what you see on the PC Mac version of TurboDial. I can enter letters from the first and last name of a contact. I can enter a portion of their phone number. I can enter a portion of their email address into that search field, and TurboDial will bring back up to 20 results that matched. If you get more than 20 results, it'll be limited to 20, and in that case you should refine your search results to get a smaller set so that you can choose the correct one from the selector. Let's type in an example. ALBR, just as shown on the slide. There's 3 results in this case: Al Brock, Alan Bradford, and Alice Bradley. Let's show that same example with turboDial on a PC Mac. AL, BR. And there you can see the 3 results. I can choose Alan Bradford. Alan Bradford's here, and Alan Bradford is also on the mobile on the right. Very similar approach to searching for a contact. Now that I have a contact selected, I can hit the call button and move on to the call screen. Okay, I have Alan Bradford on the call screen. I can choose one of his phone numbers to call, just as I can on the PC Mac version. I can call Alan, or by pressing the record button, I can record the call to Alan. I can leave call notes. I can leave a call outcome that I choose from a selector. And I can save my notes and call outcome with that save button. Notice in very fine print, I've got the caller ID, the calling device, and the SMS ID also displayed here, just so I make sure I know which numbers I'm displaying to my contacts when I call them. Let's compare this functionality to the PC Mac version of turboDial. You can see I've got a call button and a call and record button. I can choose phone numbers here. I got an SMS button. I can leave a call outcome. I can choose a call outcome to be left. I can enter notes. So those features on the PC Mac version of turboDial are also available on the mobile version of turboDial. Also on the call screen is a SMS button that I can use to send a text message. When I click that button, the SMS view and send screen will appear, and there it is. You can see it's very similar to the functionality built into the PC and Mac version of turboDial. I can view the text messaging history here. To send a text, I can simply enter it into this field and press the send button. And if I want to close this window, I can click the X button up in the header. Before we do that, let's compare it to the PC Mac version of sending a text. Here in the PC Mac version, if I click the SMS button, you can see a very similar window arrives, just like the one in turboDial Mobile, with the very same contents. I can close it, and I can close this mobile version for sending a text. Now here we are back at the call screen. Also in the call screen, you can scroll down and see the current tags associated with this contact. The Add Tags button may be available to you, as you can see it here, if your account owner has enabled adding tags in your account. So to add a tag, I click that button, and when I do, the Add Tag screen will appear. This is very similar in functionality to the PC and Mac version. I can open that selector and type in a search phrase for a tag that I want to enter. Let's look. Let's see. I've got stop 0, stop 1, stop 2, stop 3. I don't have a tag called stop 4. Let's see if I can find that and enter it. Okay, there's stop 4. So if I save, now you can see stop 4 is added to my list. Now that I'm done adding tags, I can go back to the call screen. And here, if I look down, you can see it's also been added in this view. So let's talk about some of the other differences between the PC and Mac version of turboDial versus the mobile version. So the PC Mac version is used side by side with Infusionsoft on your PC, whereas the mobile version launches independently from Infusionsoft, and that's important because some of the devices you're going to want to use it on don't support Infusionsoft. The PC Mac version supports Firefox and Chrome browsers only, whereas the mobile version supports Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Opera, and Internet Explorer. So you can use it on a wider set of browsers. This PC Mac version supports desktop and laptop PCs and Macs, where the mobile version supports PCs and Macs, but also supports smartphones and tablets. On the PC Mac version, though, you can use a headset with a microphone to actually make voice over IP calls right from your computer. On the mobile version, there is no voice over IP support. You can only make calls from phones. It could be the smartphone you're using, or it could be some other phone that's available to you, but you cannot use voice over IP calls. On the PC Mac version, there are extensive account configuration tools, such as adding new caller IDs, adding new calling devices, and several others. Those tools are not available in the mobile version of turboDial. However, some users in your account may only need the mobile version for all of their purposes and don't need to be authorized for the PC Mac version. But for users who are authorized for both versions, note that they cannot use both versions simultaneously. There are safeguards built into turboDial to prohibit that, so that calls are not accidentally lost. So let's talk about useful tips. I already showed you how to save to the home screen, and that gives you a better user experience because it allows you to use more of the display of your smartphone with turboDial Mobile. Secondly, if you have problems with turboDial Mobile, something's not working correctly, just log out using that red logout button in the upper right corner of the header. What that does is it'll clear the cached data in turboDial in case something has been accidentally corrupted. And then when you log in again, you'll be starting with clean data. And then lastly, if you're going to use only a smartphone to both manage your calls and make your calls, recognize that some smartphone services do not have simultaneous voice and data. And what that means is if you're talking on the phone, you cannot also be using the internet on that phone. So if you do not have simultaneous voice and data, that means then when you start a call with turboDial, you need to wait until that call ends before resuming use of turboDial. So again, if you're using one smartphone to run turboDial, to manage your calls, and also to make your calls, if you don't have simultaneous voice and data, then you will need to wait until your call ends before you resume using turboDial. Okay, so we've just walked through all of the screens and how to use the different features in turboDial, from logging in, configuring your caller ID and your calling device and your SMS to phone numbers. We showed you how to search for any contact in your Infusionsoft account and select a contact. We showed you how to make calls and send text messages to that contact, and to view and add tags for that contact. So that's the features of turboDial Mobile. Happy calling, everybody. Thanks.